Okay, guys, I'm going to try to go over more detail on the covert narcissist um, because I've had some people ask for like more details because they're confused. Like, am I with a narcissist? Is this person really a narcissist? Well, again, I'm going to give you some more details so you can sort of determine whether you are or not. Richard Grannon talks about one of the first ways to note that if you are with a narcissist or an abuser is the fact that you're here, the fact that you're watching these videos, the fact that you are doing some detective work, the fact that you probably Googled some specific, characteristics to try to figure out if you were with somebody who is a character disturbed or a narcissist, and it brought you here. And you're watching these videos because you don't understand what just happened to you. Anytime you're in a relationship and you are being forced to play detective, that is a red flag. That is a huge sign. Normal relationships that are built on trust and love and acceptance and communication and authenticity and are not covert operations will not make you into a detective. So the fact that you're here and you're trying to figure out what's going on in your relationship or the relationship that you got out of, that's a sign. And if you another sign is if you have normal communication with all these people in your life, but with this person they are an outlier, you cannot have normal communication with this person, you walk away going, what the heck just happened there? The interaction with them is different than it is with all the other people in your life. That's another red flag. One way to look at a covert narcissist, because again, if you're with an overt or a covert, either way, people that are manipulators are covert. Manipulation, by definition, is a covert endeavor. You are being covertly manipulated. So, another way to look at the covert narcissist is just as a shy narcissist. These people tend to be shy, they're not as obvious in their grandiosity as an overt narcissist. In fact, they're very hidden. Their narcissism is very hidden. They tend to be they can tend to almost seem depressed. They can tend to have sort of low energy. You'll notice that there is an emptiness. There is something missing in them. There can be like a certain flatness, a very low affect. You can even notice that in their facial expressions where there's just not much affect. They're not really joyful. They're not really laughing much. They're also not showing much outward aggression or anger because, again, all of their sort of anger is very covert. It's very hidden. I mean, you might be with somebody for 10 years and never see an outward display of aggression or emotion, but underneath it, there's all of this like covert aggression that's going on. And they do that in what we think of as passive aggressive because they'll agree to something to your face and then they'll punish you behind your back later on, and there's not even a correlation. You won't even know what you did to deserve the punishment that they're doling out in this very covert way. um, One of the scientists or one of the researchers says don't look at it like passive aggressive, look at it like covert aggression. It's hidden aggression. It's hidden and under the radar. You will notice that they're grandiose. Now, with the overt narcissists, these people are very overtly grandiose. They're very in your face with their grandiosity. With the covert, it's more like they don't send that at all. It's internal. Internally, they have very grandiose fantasies, and they feel that they deserve special treatment because they're special. They think they're particularly brilliant or particularly good looking, or they deserve some very special treatment. But this is going on in their mind. They are very, very careful to hide this from the world. They also have no ability to self-reflect. They just can't. They don't have any introspection. They are not. These people cannot self-reflect. They have a real issue with apologizing. Most of them are unable to apologize or take any personal responsibility for the harms that they cause others. They're very entitled, but then on the same token, they also have this incredible lack of confidence. You don't see that with overts. Overts are usually just very overtly, seemingly confident. But with the coverts, it's like they have this splitting where they feel very entitled. They're entitled to your money, your time, your special treatment, more sex than other people, or whatever they're entitled to. But then they also, at the same time, they have this sort of low level of confidence. So they come across as insecure sometimes. They're very vulnerable to stress. These coverts tend to be prone to isolation, self-pity, and avoidance and withdraw. They can, hide out in their room or hide out in their head where they're very, withdrawn and full of like self-pity, where they have zero empathy for you. Like they cannot feel your pain. They don't care that you're in pain. They're only worried about how this is affecting them. Like, when they could break up with you and say, they could be cheating, lying, gaslighting, doing all these things. They break up you and they say, this is really going to hurt me. Like they don't care that it hurts you or that your child or their child or the affair partner's children or the affair partner's ex-husband. Like they just don't care. They have no consideration or empathy for other people whatsoever. And you can see this lack of empathy if they were in a crisis situation where they just didn't show empathy for people that were suffering, where they don't give any money to beggars, where they, one of their family members could be needing a surgery and they don't show empathy, for that person. They won't go there and like show empathy. A family pet could die and they don't care. It's like they don't care. It's like they're not in touch with their empathy whatsoever. These people cannot tolerate criticism, either perceived or real. Like the criticism in their minds, they're very delusional in their thinking, so they could have this perception that they're being criticized, and really what you're doing is just coming to them with a need and saying, hey, I have this need, can you meet it? I really feel like my needs aren't being met here. And they take that very personally, like it's a horrible criticism against them personally. And really you're just saying, hey, I'd really like to spend more time with you, or I'd really like to have more physical intimacy, or really like to hear about your internal life, what's going on with you. And they take that as a personal affront. They are perfectionists. They are crazy perfectionists. You may see them prone to procrastination, where they can't even start a project because they're so in their head, their thinking is so perfectionistic. And of course, they need to come across as perfect. These are the people that act like their poo doesn't stink. These are people that act like they've never made a mistake in their lives. Like if you ask them about their past or their childhood, they may say that it was perfect. Everything was perfect. All their past relationships, they were all fine. Everything was great. They were nice people. But they've been through 5 or 6 people. If they were so perfect and so great, then why is the relationship over? That's a question to consider. They have a strong desire to be perceived as the rescuer. They love to look like they're the rescuer. They're rescuing people. They're rescuing that poor disadvantaged like single mother, or they're rescuing like this woman from her, bad marriage, or they're rescuing children. They love to be perceived as the rescuer. Some people have mentioned that maybe with the overt versus the covert, that the overts actually are not aware that their self-image, their projected self-image is false. But with the coverts, they may actually have a deeper self-awareness of this, and they actually know that this image that they are presenting and projecting to the world is false, like it's not real, and they may have a deeper awareness of that reality. They're very entitled, they're very spoiled, but they don't show this. They think that they deserve special treatment. And they may have grown up in families where this ideology was cultivated and reinforced, that they're very special, they're smarter than everyone. Our family is smarter than everyone. You are better than everyone. There's all the other 7 billion people on the planet, but there's our family, and we are so special. We're the smartest people in the world, and you are so special. You're the specialist. So, of course, they have this, that they've been put on, perhaps they've been put on this pedestal. There can also be the dichotomy where they're put on a pedestal and then devalued in their families. There could be 2 different parents that are doing the 2 different things. And then they're also very exploitative, but they're very careful that they do not show how exploitative they are. They treat people like appliances. They will suck you dry for your emotional energy, for your love, for your attention, for your cooking, for your money, for anything they can get out of you. They will, you could be with them and you could be literally their slave. You could be like the one cooking and cleaning and being their personal chef and planning all their trips and planning all the vacations and packing for everything. And they have literally no gratitude. They have no ability to recognize your contribution in the relationship. They think that you're lucky that they're even in the relationship with you, and they don't have to do jack shit to make the relationship work. They don't need to do. You're the one that needs to do efforts. You're the one that needs to do all the work, because don't you know you're just lucky to even be able to be breathing the same airspace as them? And then they also, with this entitlement, it's really weird, but again, it's the splitting with the coverts. They have this incredible grandiosity and entitlement in their head, but it's conflicted with the idea that they're nothing. So I'm better than everyone, I'm superior, and then I'm nothing. It's this weird splitting that they have going on. That goes to the superiority. They're special, they're superior. You may see this when you're interacting with them. If you introduce them to some of your friends, they may not even be able to bother themselves with having a conversation with people. They can be very nonverbal, and that they'll just be completely introverted, and they won't even make an effort to have a conversation with people, because especially if they're people that they deem are beneath them for whatever reason. They're not as smart as them, they're not as high class as them, they're not as good look, whatever, but you will see them pay special attention to people that are worthy of them. In other words, like people that they think are as smart as them, well, they don't think anyone is as smart as them, but they think that they're smart, or if they're really good looking, they may pay special attention to that person. They are very sneaky. These people are covert operators. Everything they do, they may say, I'm private, but they're very sneaky. They're very sneaky about their cell phones, about their computers, about what they're doing. They are very withholding of information. They use withholding of information to maintain their power and control. So they will not provide, authenticity, open communication, open dialogue, or information. They can be as weird as, if they go to the dentist to get some cavities fixed, they may not even tell you that they went to the dentist, and you could be married to them for 10 years. It's that weird. They're very secretive, very sneaky. They cannot apologize. You may look back, when you get out of the relationship, look back over the decade, 15, 20 years you were with them, and you realize that you may have apologized to them 1,000 times for everything under the sun, and these people absolutely never apologize to you. So, that may be the case, that they have a hard time, or almost an impossible time, apologizing. And then let's see. Okay, again, I already talked about this. When they're referring to their past, their childhood, their past relationships, they will act like everything is perfect, nothing ever bothered them, everything was fine. They may have been in a major crisis that everyone else in the world would consider a natural disaster, or some really bad crisis, and they'll be like, oh, that was fine. We survived, I'm fine, so everything's fine, disregarding all the people that could have died, or that were hurt or hurting. And then you'll notice when they're discussing emotions or anything that has to do with vulnerability, you will feel like they are scripted, like they literally memorize some lines in a film. There's something wooden and stilted and practiced about it. So they could say things like, I've never felt this way before. I've never been this happy. You are the love of my life. You are my soulmate. They may, you're so you're the smartest person I've ever met. Again, and that's also sort of notice their exaggerated communication. They usually only do that during the love bombing, and then they'll devalue you. So you may have heard in the love bombing that you were a genius, or that you were so amazing, or like they've never met anyone like you, or they may have mentioned it about your family members, that they've never met anyone as smart as them. They are doing that during the love bombing. They're going to do that with the news sources supplied during the love bombing, but then during the devaluation, they don't even have one kind word to say about you or your family. So you'll notice that dichotomy. And these people are very much in fantasy. They are grandiose in their fantasies. These people operate in, they're pathological liars, but the coverts are very, very careful. They are experts at lies of omission and half-truths, and mostly a lie, but with a little grain of truth, so it sounds plausible. These people will throw you under the bus. They have zero loyalty. They do not defend you behind your back. They do not defend people behind their backs. And you may have been with somebody for 10 years and you notice they never defended anyone behind their back, people that they were supposedly loved. These people throw you under the bus. They have no loyalty. They do not trust. They tend to be very, very untrusting. They can be very paranoid. They can be very, they can be isolators. They can be engaged in a lot of self-pity. You'll see them. They tend to, isolate, and especially if there's a narcissistic injury, they, withdraw, avoid. They don't engage and participate in the human experience. These people engage in gaslighting, silent treatment, stonewalling. Their communication is word salad communication. You will walk away and you are so confused because you don't have no idea what just happened. They do a lot of deflection and projection. So it's been said that if a narcissist is accusing you of something, that is what they're doing. If they accuse you of hiding money, they're hiding money. If they accuse you of cheating, they're cheating. If they accuse you of being black and white thinkers, they're a black and white thinker. Everything that they're accusing you of, it's probably what they're guilty of. They project a lot. I don't know if they're even aware that they're doing this. I don't even know if they're aware that they're projecting, but that is what they do. And you could be like, wait a minute. What you just accused me of is not even remotely one of my character defects. Like, I have a ton of character defects. I'm well aware of them. I know what they are, and they're none of the ones you just suggested. That's another thing they have, again, this inability to self-reflect. They can never say to you, here is one of my flaws. I'm actively working to improve it. I really wish that I was better at doing this one thing. I wish I didn't have this flaw. You'll notice, again, the perfectionism that can almost be debilitating because it can lead to incredible procrastination. These people are, egregious perfectionists with themselves, others. They absolutely cannot tolerate people's humanity. So as soon as somebody makes a mistake, they basically will just, start avoiding and withdraw and distance themselves emotionally. Not that they were ever that closely emotionally bonded, because these people are not capable of emotional intimacy. They are not capable of love and reciprocity and authenticity and honesty and vulnerability. They just can't do it. They will come across as vulnerable with their crocodile tears and with their sad face, but they do not have true vulnerability, which is, hey, this is something that hurt me. It really bothered me that you did this. I need to tell you about it. And can you, here's what I need for you to do to correct it. They act as if they have no needs, like they're an island, but they require outside validation in order to just sustain. So the reason they need multiple sources of supply is because they absolutely would be empty without outside validation. They need the outside people to be validating them, right? These people are notorious cheaters. They absolutely cheat. They cheat every time. They always have multiple sources of supply. They never end one relationship without having another person already lined up. They cannot be alone. And these people tend to have a proclivity for addiction. They tend to have a very high, especially with the male covert narcissists, most of them are addicted to porn. Lots of them also have sex addiction. They can have addiction to prostitutes, massage parlors, whatever. It's usually, or it can just be porn. Also with the females, that can also be the case. It's getting more and more prevalent. So they're addicts. Sometimes they can have the comorbidity of alcohol and drug addiction. But porn and sex addiction is a more prevalent addiction for them because, again, it's feeding that narcissistic supply. It's feeding it. They need outside validation in order to feel like they're anything. You will notice in the relationship with them that they do that 3 stages of the relationship. The love bombing, the idealization, where they have you on a pedestal. As soon as you start showing your humanity, they start to devalue you. They cannot accept any imperfections. They cannot accept your humanity because they don't accept their own humanity. And then eventually there's going to be the discard. The discard is it can be very drastic. It can hit you out of nowhere and you had no idea, and then you start finding out about their double life and the whole thing starts to unravel and you get away. Hopefully you go no contact and you look back and you're like, holy crap, I can't even believe that I was in that. But you realize once you start doing your research that you were trauma bonded. You probably had Stockholm syndrome. They were demeaning you slowly over time. You were a frog being boiled in water. And this could have involved no verbal or physical abuse. It could have all been psychological, emotional abuse that was on such a high level of manipulation and gaslighting and mind fuckery, to where your mind literally, you're just confused and foggy and you don't really know up from down. They put everything on you. If they didn't have sex with you for 3 months, it's your fault. You did something. It's not the fault that they literally have a double sex life and they're having sex with other people on the internet. It's your fault, right? You did something to make them, cheat on you. They're blamers, right? So they may admit that they cheated on you. That's very unlikely. But if they're faced with the facts, they may admit that they cheated on you. But then it's your fault. They're going to tell everyone that you did something to make them cheat on you, or, they lied and gaslighted, but it's because of something you did. So they can never say, yeah, I screwed up, I made a mistake, I was an asshole, I cheated, I was wrong, I lied, and that was my part. That's what I need to take responsibility for. They have an inability to make amends. They have an inability to take any responsibility for the harms they cause. And again, the narcissist loves to be with a codependent, because a narcissist cannot accept any responsibility for anything that's wrong with them. And a codependent tends to take over responsibility for other people's bad behaviors. So you have this toxic dance between the two. So I think I covered the details of sort of the covert, shy, or vulnerable narcissist. And again, they come across as vulnerable by the sad face and how they're just so, people are so mean to them. They don't understand why this is happening to them. They've just been such a victim, right? They're always the victim or the martyr. But the truth is they were doing all this covert operations, lying, cheating, gaslighting, and their true ability to be vulnerable they don't have. They're not really vulnerable, that they're invulnerable in that they're not honest about their feelings, their thoughts, their internal life whatsoever. So they have a fake sort of mask of vulnerability, but they're not really vulnerable. They act invulnerable. They act like they're an island, like they don't need people, but they desperately need people. They have to have outside validation for self-regulation, whether that validation comes from work or from multiple affair partners or from their primary source of supply or from the children. They need validation. And again, these people love to appear to be the rescuer. They're the knight in shining armor. But be very careful, because that is a knight that has a sword, and they're going to stab you in the back with it. I mean, these people have zero loyalty. So I hope this was helpful for you. I know we don't want to get stuck in this mire, because identifying the covert narcissist is awesome. Great, you've identified, you realize you were with a narcissist, you were with a manipulator. Now what? Well, now what is, do not spend your whole life researching this BS. I mean, yeah, good to know, good information. Learn what are the red flags, how can I avoid them in the future, and what can I do for myself to heal myself so that I don't find myself in a relationship with another manipulator. And really, that has a lot to do with addressing your codependence. Like codependence, what is codependence? It's a lack of boundaries. It is not seeing where you end and somebody else begins. It's you taking responsibility for other people's stuff rather than keeping the focus on you, doing your own healing, doing your own growth, your own work, so that you can be the best version of yourself, and you will never get into a relationship with another manipulator, because you will be on to the signs. And I am learning so much from all of this. It has been a godsend. I mean, in a strange way, this experience was absolutely vital for me. I had to go through this experience so that I could heal my codependence and to learn really solid, really healthy boundaries, so I will never be with a manipulator again. I just won't. And I'll see the signs. And I've done a lot of work around my self-love deficit disorder. That's what Ross Rosenberg calls codependence. And I've been able, just by helping you guys, because the reason I'm doing these videos is because what I learned in 12-step recovery for me to recover from alcohol addiction 12 years ago is I learned that by giving back, I'm able to help myself. And so part of the reason I'm doing these videos is to help you guys to spot the signs, notice the red flags, do the work on yourself for you to heal and recover, and to avoid manipulative people. Cannot change them. Nobody can change them. So psychologists don't even think that narcissists can ever heal because they have an inability to self-reflect. They don't think there's anything wrong with them. They think there's nothing wrong with lying, cheating, stealing. In their minds, you deserved it. They justify it. You did something. You may have loved them entirely and had them on a pedestal and treated them with respect for 10 or 15 or 20 years and just adored them, but they are going to find something to scapegoat you. You're the scapegoat. But because they have this inability to self-reflect or take any personal responsibility, like they're not going to seek therapy. They're not going to seek 12-step recovery. It's very, very unlikely. I do think some narcissists have gotten help. I think they can change, but that's again because I believe in the spiritual life, spiritual side of things. But in general, these people are not going to change. And for sure, they're not going to change for you. They're not going to change because you, as the codependent, tried to fix them or make it better for them or loved them so much or tolerated their BS. They are not going to change for you. There's nothing that you can do to get them to change. They have to find that willingness within themselves. So your job is stop being in relationships where you're trying to get people to change. And if they're cheating and lying and gaslighting and abusing you, then get the F out. And notice the red flags in the beginning of a manipulator. So as soon as you start noticing them, you can just peace out and get them out of your life. Like, I choose to be around people that are authentic, honest, and not manipulative. I do not want manipulators in my life, and I've been able to develop a lot of discernment around that. I'm now able to discern in the early stages when somebody is being manipulative. And I'm going to make a video on some of those very specific red flags that you can look for to immediately determine whether somebody has a highly toxic, manipulative personality, because they can come across as so sweet and so kind, but there's certain things that you can look for to help you avoid them. So I hope this video is helpful for you. I just went into some real detail with the different sort of extreme character, or the more detailed characteristics of somebody who is a shy narcissist. Thank you so much and have a good day. Bye.